If you're dealing with a toxic person at work, you're not alone. You know the kind. They're the office bullies. Today in this video, we're going to talk about how not to get sucked into the drama, looking after yourself, setting boundaries, and then escalation, which is the absolute last resort. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the bell to get notified when we post new videos. We have quite a good selection coming up in the next few weeks, and I just don't want you to miss them. I've been a professional coach since 2007, and I've coached hundreds of people. I've helped many of them deal with toxicity in the workplace, and learning how to deal with that helps them grow professionally and rise above it. It's helped them grow in their career and in their leadership abilities. Plus, they feel a lot more fulfilled than ever. This sets them and you up for success like you've never imagined. So let's talk about toxicity in the workplace. I don't want you to get sucked into the drama. Another person's toxicity is not about you, it's about them. We've talked about our beliefs in previous videos, so let's make sure we're evaluating our beliefs with respect to toxic people in the workplace. Remember, nothing anyone says or does is personal against you or me. The way people behave in life is a reflection of them, not you. Their behaviors reflect their own experiences, their perceptions, beliefs, and biases. And especially in contentious arguments or in times when it may appear that someone is striking out at us, we really must remember that their behavior reflects how they're experiencing the world at this moment in time. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to excuse toxic behavior, because we do get to choose how we treat others. I just want you to be aware that there are very likely underlying issues impacting toxic behavior. See, the best empathy is empathy with boundaries. So best-selling author Brené Brown, I love Brené, she's taught millions of readers the importance of setting boundaries when helping others. The most compassionate people I know also have the most well-defined boundaries, she says. Brown shares that in order to best help others, we have to protect ourselves so that we don't get consumed in the grief or difficulty of another one. We can't help it if we're embroiled with them, or we can help them if we're embroiled with them. Many people who behave in a toxic manner have been through trauma themselves, and instead of dealing with that trauma, these people start exhibiting toxic traits. These people usually don't know how to process trauma and stress in a healthy way, so they end up taking it out on other people. As I said earlier, we should never excuse someone's bad behavior. Never. We can, however, keep in mind that there may be something going on that we don't know about. It'll help us keep the judgment out of our thoughts, and I'm really big on that, especially in the workplace. If we really get good at setting our own boundaries, we can more easily walk away from the toxicity. When we think about boundaries, there are a number of different types of boundaries. I'm a big believer in boundaries. I used to never set them and learned quickly I had to. There are physical or proximity boundaries, and this type seems pretty clear, right? Just remove yourself from the situation whenever possible. More powerful boundaries are emotional boundaries. These boundaries can protect us while in any situation, and they allow us to be strong and to survive that toxicity. We protect ourselves, and it keeps us from taking it personally. Another person's toxicity is not about you, it's about them, so look after yourself. In a toxic relationship, whether you can fix the relationship or not actually depends on both of you. The other person must also be willing to change and to heal the toxic patterns. Here are some things you can do to ensure to take care of yourself first. Accept responsibility for your part in the relationship and your part in letting the toxic behaviors become a pattern. Make a commitment to yourself that you'll make changes in yourself so that you don't allow the toxic behavior to go unchecked. We have that power within us, you know. And as we mentioned, Set healthy boundaries by recognizing when things make you uncomfortable or they make you feel bad. Make it a point to push back. And when our boundaries are strong enough, we also learn to defend ourselves against toxicity. We learn to be assertive in a polite and kind manner, letting the other person know when they're doing something you don't want to accept. We often have a hard time giving others feedback, and it's particularly important in a toxic situation. If we allow someone to get away with this type of behavior, then we take some of the responsibility onto ourselves by not giving them honest feedback. So heal individually to heal the relationship. So what I mean is, we mentioned there's usually a reason people act the way they do. And sometimes you need to heal yourself before you can function in a healthy way in a relationship. If you heal yourself, it's easier for you to feel compassion and to want to help others. It's also easier for us to push back on the toxicity. Are you currently dealing with a toxic person or workplace? If so, give us a shout out in the comments below. Tell us your story. We'd love to hear from you. So let's talk about establishing clear boundaries. We're going to dig a little deeper into those boundaries because boundaries help establish connection among employees, allowing you to focus on your roles and respect those who are in a higher position and a lower position. Also, those that are on the same level. A boundary of respect will enable people to speak up, share ideas, suggest creative solutions to problems without fear of ridicule or embarrassment. Here are some ideas how to set clear boundaries. First, visualize and name your limits. This is pretty simple to do. Just get a vision of what your limits are and then name them. For a physical boundary, you may set the boundary to keep someone at least an arm's length away from you while having a conversation. It seems simple, but you never know. I had a colleague once that was a close talker. They get really up close to you. And I really had to set those boundaries clearly with him. So secondly, openly communicate your boundaries. No matter what type of boundary it is, you should openly discuss the need for boundaries and what your boundaries are and why you have them. Each one of us has a right to have our boundaries respected. Then, don't be afraid to say no. I hear this a lot. People are afraid to say no. We often forget that saying no is definitely setting a boundary around our priorities. It's perfectly okay to say no when you can't do something. Then, limit how much time you spend together. In order to accomplish your objectives, you have to be productive. So you're within your limits to make sure you keep meetings manageable, especially if you're dealing with someone with a toxic attitude. So, how do you set boundaries with negative coworkers? First of all, you should remain professional. No matter what they do, you maintain your professionalism. Always take the high road. It's not easy to do, but you do not want to stoop to their level of bad behavior. If you feel yourself getting triggered into bad behavior yourself, then have the discipline to just walk away or to politely ask to continue the discussion at a later time. That's perfectly okay. Make sure the other person feels heard. So many times people just want to know that someone's listening to them. It won't always be the case, but oftentimes if you just let them vent, you can go on your way without incident. Wherever possible, identify the positives within their negative comments and try to reframe what they had said in a more positive way. This may have the effect of getting them to see that everything is not all bad. Then excuse yourself from the conversation politely whenever possible. The easiest way to deal with a toxic coworker is to just politely walk away. We said this earlier, but it's worth repeating. Simply just remove yourself politely from the situation. Reach out to human resources or your manager if needed. And I say this with all caution and as a very last resort. If all else fails, then you have to escalate the issue. But go in with all the facts and not with emotions. Be prepared to make your case in a calm and professional manner. So when should you escalate the issue? That's the hardest part. Escalation generally means that you'll need to ruffle a few feathers, and sometimes that's more trouble than it's worth. However, you shouldn't back down from a serious issue simply out of fear. Sometimes escalation is the only route forward, especially if you've already tried to resolve the issue in other ways. To help you make the right decision, consider some of these ideas. You've tried communicating with the person directly and it's not working. Many times it's difficult to get people with a toxic or negative attitude to listen to reason. And if that's the case, you've tried communicating, you may have no other choice. Ongoing issues are affecting your work or your ability to do your job. This one is very important. You should not continue if this is the case. I'm certain that neither your manager or HR would want you to allow this situation to have a negative impact or to hinder you from doing a great job. If you repeatedly feel like you're being ignored or dismissed about a pressing issue, then you might want to escalate. One of the most powerful ways to resolve issues or solve problems is to be heard. If your attempts to address the behavior goes unheard or are dismissed in any way, then you really should escalate. Now, it's important to pick the right time to speak with upper management or to your boss or their boss. Chances are you won't be taken seriously if you go in too early making demands or being aggressive about an issue that doesn't seem that big to others. But on the other hand, if you wait too long, the issue could blow up and be even harder to manage. So typically, you should leave escalation as long as possible and make an effort to resolve conflict independently. But if the issue involves a lot of people or seems to be getting worse, then it's better to speak with someone who can take some action. It's really difficult, and it's very difficult to decide when to go, but trust yourself because I know you know the right time, and it is the last resort. Are you struggling with maintaining a positive outlook, dealing with toxicity in the workplace, or of getting off that hamster wheel chasing success? Well, check out my free course called Busyness versus Mindfulness. You'll begin to learn to create your best life and career. We talk about what causes busyness in our life and how do we take control of that. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell to get notified when we post new videos. That way you won't miss this video coming up next week. So subscribe, bell, and I'll see you there.